Hi, and welcome to Live at 5:55, the full stop to the end of your workday. I am Sharon with a Y, and holistic business strategist, and we continue today to consider another style, I guess, of natural rhythm. So over the past few days, we've discussed the new planning paradigm versus the old planning paradigm. And we have considered the cycle and planning with the cycle of the moon. But what happens when things happen that you just don't expect? What natural cycle is available to you then? Well, if you are observant, you will have noticed that on the image that I used for the previous two videos, there was a little section in one of the corners that I haven't spoken about, and that's because it's today. It deserves a whole section to itself. And the concept is from a book, Finding Your Own North Star by Martha Beck. So if you want to delve into this deeper, I have actually done a book review on it, but highly recommended. It's a little gem of a book for anyone that is going through change or is considering change. And I certainly think in this time, at these times, we're all going through some form of change or another. Now, for most people, change takes one of three forms. So it's either a shock, so something that we weren't expecting, an opportunity, or a gradual transition. So to give a little bit more meat onto those bones, a shock is something that generally originates from outside of us. So it's an event that originates from outside of us, and it's a sudden, unplanned change. Opportunities also tend to originate outside of us, and they can seem as if they're a lucky break, but they still require adaptation, and so can be mixed with a little bit of shock, because perhaps you don't always anticipate the level of adaptation that an opportunity might require. And then there are transitions. These tend to come from within us, and the book goes into these quite deeply, because they are kind of a siren call to our soul. So a little bit like a dripping tap, you know that it's there, and you can ignore it for a little while, but it does get louder and louder and louder, and there is obviously the risk that it turns into a proper waterfall if you leave it for too long. So even though these changes appear to have different forms, and they will obviously have different emotional responses, our natural process of navigating these changes has its own rhythm, its own natural rhythm. And so you can see now how I'm beginning to link this back into the videos for the first 3 days of this week, and it gets better. The natural rhythm follows a very, very similar path to that of the cycle of the moon. So let's have a look at it, shall we? So first of all, this process is built up of 4 squares. So if you haven't seen the image that goes with this video, you might want to take that image out and to have a look at it. So square 1 is death and rebirth. So very, very similar to the cycle of winter. And when one of those changes happens, I feel this is a change process. So we've either had a shock, an opportunity present itself, or we are going through a transition and we make a choice. So at this point, we literally feel like we're going back to square 1. We find ourselves in a very idealistic world, probably in our own minds largely, and we feel the death of the old. And if we're aware of it, perhaps we pause in the space of emptiness as we let go of what was before, and we start to consider the birthing of something new. And there is a grief process that goes through this. So at this time, it's probably not a great idea to make any big decisions or bold decisions, because those are the ones we tend to have to walk back from, or we regret when we make them in that point of winter and that point of grief. What we need to be doing is, or recognizing, once we've let go of what it was that was past, recognizing that now is the time for square 2, which is dreaming and scheming. So that's very, very similar to the cycle of spring, that curiosity, that place of curiosity. So we start to feel moments of hope and creativity. We see flashes of a potential future. We might have some new ideas. So if it was a shock, maybe we're looking for some alternatives. We're exploring, experimenting, and dreaming. And we're still quite internal at this point. We are still doing a lot of this in our own minds and in our inner world. And we're asking things like, what if? Or two words that my friends say are two of the most powerful words when put together. I wonder. And we are at that point just dreaming and scheming, looking at the landscape and sitting in that energy of spring. And then we move into square 3 eventually. And square 3 is the hero saga. So this is where we are starting to feel ready to step back out into the world. So to venture out and give some things a try. So test some of the ideas that we had in that time of dreaming and scheming. And for some of them, we'll give them a go and think, whoa, what on earth was I thinking? That is not the way to go. And you might feel like you go back to stage 1 again and go through dreaming and scheming to get back to your next hero's saga. So I think of this as that point in the film at the beginning, in the middle, where the hero's sure that everything is lost, and then there's a breakthrough. So that's what we're looking for in this square 3 of the hero saga. We're looking for that breakthrough, that point where we slay the dragons. And it's very, very simple, very, very similar to our time of summer. And then finally, we move into square 4, the promised land. And it won't surprise you to know that this is very similar to the point of autumn on our moon cycle. So it's time to just breathe out. We've powered on through, we've overcome the obstacles, we've slain the dragon, and we've reached promised land. We are now in that point of harvest and gathering, smelling the roses. I love that. I love that phrase. It's time to smell the roses. So we're now in the point of actually experiencing the point of change. We're experiencing the new landscape and we're living it. So it's time in we all know that nothing is as certain as change itself. So, you know, relax into this time and enjoy this time, understanding that at some point there's a very good chance that more change will be on the landscape, and we will go back through to square 1 and follow through those 4 steps of the change cycle again. And there's one more thing just to make you aware of, and it relates actually to the cycle of the moon and to this change cycle, because you will, as you consider the seasons, you will recognize yourself. There will be points on either the moon cycle or this change cycle where you feel really, really comfortable. And the risk is that you stay in that place for too long because it's where you feel comfortable. And the challenge that we have, if we are to keep growing, developing and embracing new challenges and new experiences in life, is to keep that cycle moving around, and to keep moving through those seasons as we build our resilience and experience, I guess. So that is the change cycle from Martha Beck out of the book Finding Your Own North Star. So first of all, give yourself permission to be in whichever square you are in right now, and keep on your horizon that the new square is coming and that this too shall pass. So that's it from me for today. Tomorrow we are going to look at one of my planning principles, just one thing. If you are familiar with my work, you may have come across it already. I am going to relate it back to the cycles of the moon, which you may not have experienced before. So I look forward to sharing that with you live tomorrow at 5:55. In the meantime, enjoy your evening, take care and keep shining.